Bertha Ley is a headstrong, spirited young woman who dreams of living life on her own terms. Raised in an aristocratic but conservative family, she has always longed for independence and believes that love will be the key to unlocking her freedom. In defiance of her family's wishes, she decides to pursue a life unburdened by tradition. Bertha meets Edward Craddock at a countryside gathering. He's a man of few words, grounded and practical, a farmer by trade. Despite his simple nature, Bertha is captivated by his quiet strength and sees in him the embodiment of her ideal partner. Someone who will let her remain free, yet offer her stability. She falls deeply in love with him, convinced she can shape their life together to fit her own vision. Edward proposes to Bertha, but even as she accepts, a part of her wonders if this is what true freedom feels like. While Edward loves her, he doesn't share her lofty ambitions or dreams of a grand life. He offers her security but little passion. Bertha rationalizes that she can mold their relationship and find contentment. Bertha and Edward are married in a simple, unadorned ceremony. The countryside becomes their new home, and the reality of married life begins to settle in. Bertha is both excited and apprehensive, as she anticipates shaping their future together and building a life that balances love, freedom, and domesticity. As the months pass, Bertha struggles with the monotony of daily life. Edward's days are consumed by managing the farm, and their conversations become less about dreams and more about the practicalities of running a household. Bertha realizes that Edward is content with a conventional marriage, one she finds increasingly stifling. Bertha begins to feel trapped. The routine of marriage weighs heavily on her, and Edward's simplicity, which once seemed appealing, now feels suffocating. She longs for intellectual stimulation, adventure, and the passion she had imagined would fill her marriage. A seed of doubt is planted, and she begins to question if she made the right choice. A harsh winter brings financial hardship to the farm, and Bertha sees Edward as more focused on practical matters than on her emotional needs. Her dreams of a life filled with excitement and deep connection begin to crumble. She starts to feel isolated, realizing that the marriage she envisioned bears little resemblance to the reality she now faces. Bertha meets Charles Alton, a charming and intellectual neighbor. Charles frequents social events in the nearby town. He is everything Edward is not: worldly, passionate, and full of stories from far-off places. Charles awakens in Bertha a longing for more, igniting her desire for the romance and adventure she feels is missing in her marriage. As Charles and Bertha spend more time together, an emotional connection forms. They share conversations that challenge her mind and fuel her sense of yearning. Bertha feels drawn to Charles, but she is torn between her loyalty to Edward and the intense desire for something more fulfilling. Bertha's internal struggle intensifies. She feels herself drifting further from Edward and the life they've built together. Torn between her duty as a wife and her desire for personal fulfillment, she questions who she truly is and whether the constraints of marriage will ever allow her to be free. Edward senses Bertha's growing distance. Although he loves her in his quiet way, he doesn't understand her discontent. The couple's arguments escalate, and Bertha feels suffocated by his inability to offer her the freedom and passion she craves. The cracks in their marriage widen. One evening, in a moment of weakness, Bertha confesses her feelings to Charles. He, too, is drawn to her, but knows that crossing the line would have devastating consequences. Torn by guilt, Bertha returns home feeling conflicted. She is ashamed of her emotional betrayal, but knows that something has shifted irrevocably in her heart.